Hey guys, today I'm here to explain and show you the software that I use when I edit my photos. For a very, very long time, I was the faithful Photoshop and Lightroom user. I think actually Lightroom I stopped using first. But in the end, about a year ago, I had discovered a new program called Affinity software, and ironically, I wasn't really looking for new software, but my Photoshop started not working properly on my computer, and this was the second time that it happened, and it was some kind of issue. I kept trying to research it, but never did really find a true answer as to why it was having so many complications, but it was not letting me actually open photos to work on them anymore. It kept telling me I didn't have enough memory, which was not true. Anyway, long story short, I started searching for a new program because obviously I need something to edit, and there was two features that I absolutely had to have that Photoshop had that I use a lot. I use the liquify tool, and I use the cloning tool, and I use the healing brush tool. So those three had to be in the new software. And I had looked at many other options in the past, and either they didn't have all three, or if they did, they were just much more complicated. They weren't that easy to figure out. Well, I stumbled upon the Affinity program, which is what I'm going to show you what I use now. Affinity Photo. It used to only be for Mac, now it's for PC as well. I am not endorsed by them, I am not endorsing them, and I'm just showing you this is what I chose to use, and I absolutely love this program. It's at a fraction of the cost of Photoshop. It's a one-time fee. I want to say it was $30-something, but I'm not 100% sure, so you'd have to go to affinity.com and look up exactly how much it does cost, but it's a one-time cost, and you have the program forever. You can upgrade, you can whatever, but it's yours. And until recently, it did everything that Photoshop did for me. All I needed to import my raw photos and do the initial adjustments, and then I needed to be able to save them as a TIFF from there, and then decide if I wanted to do any other work in filter programs, and then I would take it back into Affinity like I would when I had Photoshop, and I would finish it in there. And then also recently, I discovered that there actually was a lot of presets that can be downloaded for Affinity as well, so I purchased those and have started creating my own presets from Affinity. So basically it has everything that Photoshop had and more. I'm discovering new things all the time, and I absolutely love this program. Let's kind of open up a picture here. I'll do a raw one in a second, but I'm just gonna open one that really quickly. So it actually is set up very similar to what Photoshop is set up, but they deal in personas and developing and stuff. So when you actually open a raw image, it will go into your raw adjustment persona, and you can do little adjustments there, and then you save it. And then if you do reopen it again, it's going to go into your adjustment persona. So basically, this is reopening one to say that I was going to finish the image, which basically this is if I was going to do any last minute touches. It would be any, skin work and whatever and cropping, but I'd already done all of that. So basically, this is the image. You can go into your levels, white balance, all of that stuff over here again. You have all of that in your raw persona as well. Your liquify tool is up here, which I find really, really awesome. It's very easy to get to. It's always right there. So you have that. Cancel. All your little things down here, your cloning, your healing brush. Everything that I use a lot is over there. And then over on this side is where you actually would have all your filters like Lightroom would have under your Let's presets. So I'm just beginning to tap into that side and creating a lot of my own presets. got a couple packs that I've been playing around with, and then I kind of adjust a lot of them to what I like on certain images, and then I resave them as something else so that I know to find it when I go back to it, which is really pretty cool. I'm trying to think, other than the presets and your ability to adjust raw photos, your ability to do your skin work and the healing brush and the cloning tool and the liquify, it has everything you need and more, and it fully fit the bill for me to leave Photoshop and all those expensive every year upgrading to the newest version and having to spend another $100 to $300 depending on which program you were getting. And the monthly cost, one monthly cost here, well, maybe a little bit more because it's $30, and it's yours. You don't have to keep doing that. So if I were to suggest or recommend any software out there, even for beginners or people who are just tired of having to do the same thing with Photoshop or having complications, or when there's upgrades like I did, it was when mine upgraded, it started not working correctly and there was nothing I could do to correct it, that I searched for Affinity. I've had Affinity now for just over a year, and knock on wood, I have not had any issues with any updates or anything affecting the program at all. It's kind of nice for me as well because you can open multiple photos and do batch processing, but I really like to do one photo at a time, so it really gives me the chance to do that and do it very well. So that is about it. That's pretty much what I was going to talk about today, just explaining the reason why I do not use Photoshop or Lightroom anymore, and the only softwares now that I use is Affinity Photo Program. One more quick thing, I forgot to show you guys how when you open a raw photo what it looks like in Affinity. This is actually my preset panel right here, and I didn't really get to show you guys that. It was still working on loading. The first initial time it opens, it takes a little while to read all the information, and then it instantly pops up from there. So these are all the ones that I've created under there. But let me get out of this and close this photo, and I'm going to randomly pick a raw photo. Hopefully I have one still on my computer that I haven't used. Let me go to, I think Natasha is probably maybe the only one that might still have raw photos. So, yeah, let's just randomly pick one of her raw photos. It's opening, but brightness, contrast, saturation, vibrance, white balance, shadows, highlights, all of that stuff that you can sit here and do minimal adjustments with to begin with. Basically all I really do is a few little things. Like here I'm gonna obviously bring up the exposure, the black point a little bit, contrast. Later on I'll adjust it even more if I find I need even more contrast, add a little bit of clarity, a little saturation, a little vibrance. And then you can go into your shadows and highlights, depending on what you prefer and what you like, and just kind of play around with those. And quite honestly, that's really all I do until I get a beginning starting point, and then I develop that. And once you develop that, at least that's tip for what I do in later, the skin and the filters and even more the coloring and contrast and everything. But I just kind of call the raw persona, and then you have your developing persona and all these little icons up here. So that's pretty much it. Thanks, and like and subscribe.